Give a million reasons why the 2017 Power Rangers film failed in the box office. Trust me, I have plenty of reasons and opinions on this. Y'all can like this movie all you want. I'm not a fan because I was dumb enough to defend this movie way before the film even came out. And trust me, I did a whole lot. I've done videos on this 1,000 times. You know what? I'm not gonna just sit here and sugarcoat and pretend like I like everything Power Rangers related. The lack of toys that was prop in the public, that was never used in the public. Even the second version of the Megazord was never even used in this movie. And I've spoke about this the last time. What was the point of them putting out the 2017 Power Morpher if it was not used in the film? But instead they got them stepping on this stupid pad to morph. It's crap to me. It's crap to me. And the reason why I made that thumbnail because it was never Mighty Morphin to me. It was kind of like your 99-cent store, like the Dollar Tree Power Rangers. You know, them little bootleg Power Rangers, the wannabe Power Rangers you've seen in the Dollar General, Family Dollars, and Dollar Tree stores. They kind of reminded me of that. It was never about Mighty Morphin. They may look like Mighty Morphin, but it's not. And plus, they keep making the Zords small. This is the one thing I have an issue with it. I have big issues with Hasbro or any other filming companies making robots small, especially the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are big, especially the T-Rex. But they couldn't even make him the same size as Goldar when he was fighting. And which tells me that they did not even watch the show. Because if you're not going to do research on how the show used to look back in the day, and then you want to throw your little twist in it, instead of making it much faithful to the source material when it comes to the Zords being as giant as big, not small, where it's easy for people to climb on, then don't even bother making it. It's just that simple. Superhero movies were hot by 2017, and Power Rangers wanted a slice of that cinematic pie, directed by the trash director Dan Israelite, written by Josh Gittin, and you already know the cast and the people that were in the film. The film served as a cinematic reboot for the teenagers with attitude. It was more for time on the big screen again, and much was expected of the $100 million production. Surely making it a successful Power Rangers film in the golden era of superhero movies would be as easy as a roundhouse kicking a group of putties to Kingdom Come. Not really. 142.3 million at the global box office. The quote Alpha 5, of course, there were merchandising tie-ins, product placement, and DVD Blu-ray sales to increase the profit margin, but the theatrical haul was far from mighty, especially when taking into account the fact that it got annihilated by films such as Resident Evil, The Final Chapter, 312.2 million, and 50 Shades Darker, 381.4 million in that same year. Is that there were a number of factors that impacted Power Rangers. Some of these issues were avoidable, while others were entirely out of the filmmakers' hands. With that being said, let's take a look at what this adaptation flopped at the box office. And like I said, I can think of a million reasons why the movie flopped, because it was not Power Rangers to me. It felt like Chronicles. It felt like Chronicles. It was boring. It was a snooze fest. Looking back at it now, I was the dumbest people in the world for defending this garbage. They barely have any civilians under more fight scenes. All it was just boring character development. That's all it was. It was just not Power Rangers to me. Yeah, it's okay for you to develop characters, but if you're doing it too long, it's going to become more boring. than ever. 2017, the blockbuster summer season was stacked with highly anticipated movies such as Wonder Woman, Despicable Me 3, and Spider-Man Homecoming. With so much competition for the audience's attention, it made sense for Power Rangers to release in March rather than risk being lost in the flood films hitting theaters later on. This way, the biggest concern would have been Logan, and since the James McGough directed film would release in early March while Power Rangers would arrive on the 24th, dramatically. The time frame would provide breathing space for both movies. Also, red flag because you did not have any time to put in the effort into this 2017 movie that a lot of us were looking forward to. As far as like martial arts action, fighting the putties unmorphed, not that crappy hologram putties that was trash. And not only that, but the Megazords, the final product was not it at all. The costumes were a bit too basic. You can't even recognize the dinosaurs except for maybe red and pink, but everyone else was just mid. You know what I'm saying? And Rita, she should have had the whole squad with her. Goldar, Squat and Baboon, and Fister. And where was Scorpina? All you had was Rita and Goldar. And Goldar, he was the worst design out of all of them. Just melted gold cheese used on cheeseburgers and fancy foods and all of that you've seen in those fancy restaurants. That's what Goldar looked like. Instead, he just looked like a slap in the face. It was bad. And like I said in the beginning of the video, they still made the Tyrannosaurus and the rest of the Zords small. I don't like when American movies are adapting a tokusatsu show from Japan. They keep making robots small, especially the Zords, the dinosaurs. That's what bothers me. And then you barely see Jason use his wannabe power sword fighting with the putties. They just keep jump cutting and cutting out certain stuff because they ran out of time, when they should have spent more time fighting the putties while morphing action. I wouldn't even want them to do a sequel to the 2017 Power Rangers movie because it was not it. I want them to do a fresh reboot of the Power Rangers. Do it right, make more sense, bring in more martial arts action, because I think that's what the Power Rangers movie lacked, is martial arts. I don't want to see too much character development because it'll become boring. I think the way they did it in the 2017, it was done horribly. Ugh, the more I talk about this, the more I rant. I hate this movie with a passion, y'all. What Power Rangers didn't bank on, though, was Disney's live-action adaptation of Beauty and the Beast being a competition juggernaut. Even though it was released a week before the Rangers reboot, there was no stopping Belle and the Beast as they rampaged to an overall 1.27 billion haul at the global box office, leaving every other film in the dust. Even Naomi Scott, who played Kimberly Hart in Power Rangers, couldn't deny the impact that Beauty and the Beast had, pointing out that her film did well in its opening week, but didn't have the legs to sustain the piece. Beauty and the Beast just killed, of course. She called it Ladies' Night, and do you know what, though? I think we did well. We did well in that first week, and it kind of just didn't have the go power in that sense. It sure didn't. Because when you think about it, I think I kind of feel bad for these actors, but I blame the writers and the producers of making this movie to be the most god-awful film I've ever seen in my life. Because like I said, looking back at it now, before the film even came out, I was doing fan art, I was defending this movie like crazy. And looking back at it now, I realize how stupid I was, because sometimes if you don't put in enough effort in movies and films, don't bother putting it out in the first place. I'm sick of Hollywood putting out stuff that you wait to the last minute to put out when you know it could have been a few minutes long, especially the fight scenes, and stop cutting out certain stuff that did not make it in the film. Just put it in there. Give us something to be excited about instead of giving us something that we could be disappointed by. Look, let's be real here for a second. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers isn't the deepest concept in the world. Each episode is about teenagers morphing and kicking the terror out of few putties, encountering the monster of the week, striking in epic poses, summoning the Megazord, and maybe having a comedic exchange or two with the Bebop and Rocksteady of the show Bulk Skull. And that's another part I didn't like about the 2017 movie, is that they didn't add Bulk Skull, someone who casted Bulk Skull. Nowadays, everybody just wants to race swap, gender swap into something that don't make sense. When it comes to like big Hollywood A-lister films, they do that too much. And look at them now. Everybody's on strike. These companies don't want to give these people nothing. So it is what it is. Director Dane Israelite told Empire that his vision was to have the movie be more character driven and establish a grounded nature. This resulted in a lot more teen drama, and which could have been pulled straight from the episode of Dawson's Creek, becoming a crucial part of the plot as the Rangers dealt with their own personal issues along with coming of terms with their newfound powers. I think that's one of the most irritating thing about this film, is it focused too much on the Rangers instead of seeing some form of martial arts action, fighting with the putties when they first encountered them. Then Zona would have given them the morphers to become the Power Rangers like the TV show, but at the same time be more mature and just try to make it sense. Try to make it more sense, you know what I'm saying? Just try to make it make sense. While it's admirable that the filmmakers had the guts to try something different, it's also the equivalent of trying to turn American Pie into Citizen Kane. The Power Rangers franchise is what it is, and the wheel didn't need to be reinvented here. Hence, a lot of fans simply couldn't connect with this version. I never could connect it because I thought it was cool when I first saw it, but the more I realized how stupid I was, the more regretful I was of seeing this garbage. Without a shadow of a doubt, the Marvel Cinematic Universe ruled the superhero movie roost in the 2010s. Warner Bros. Attempted to challenge Marvel's supremacy with the DC Extended Universe, while Sony occasionally popped with Marvel's Spider-Man and everything related to the webhead. Yet, no one can deny Marvel Studios was printing money at this point. Because if you try to be like the MCU, you're gonna fail at it. Just be your own universe, and maybe critics and fans all over the world will enjoy it. If you do something original instead of relying on Sentai all the time, it can work if done right. To the plethora of superhero related media that have been released by 2017, anything new had to be different in order to gather significant interest from the general population. Unfortunately, Power Rangers didn't do much to stand out from its cape and cruel breather. It's largely a paint by numbers origin story about a group of people who are in over their heads and needed to learn how to work as a unit to overcome their enemies. In other words, it's the plot of every single team up movie, and that needs to stop because I'm tired of just seeing it. I mean, if you're going to reboot the Power Rangers franchise, at least you could do is just make sure it makes sense. The TV show didn't make any sense because we know nothing about the characters other than their hobbies of their favorite martial artists, gymnasts, and dancers. but we didn't really see enough of their parents. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what Zonon and Rita and them had a history with each other. Thank God the comics did that. They completely wiped out the TV show of what it is. But Once and Always gave us plenty of answering our unanswered questions, and it gave us all of it. The power coins, why did Rita came back, what the Rangers been up to. And I think that if you do that with Mighty Morphin once again, reboot the original team, but make sure that the characters are more important. And you have to add martial arts action, unmorphed and morphed. And make the Zords a bit bigger, and especially the T-Rex Zord. I don't know why it's so hard for them to actually do that. While there may have been a natural curiosity surrounding the reboot, especially for those who grew up with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the film didn't position itself as a must-watch cinematic event. Instead, it felt like something that could be enjoyed as a home release later on. And that's exactly what I was thinking too, because in theaters, it was just not there. And I agree with this part as well. It would have been better for them to actually be a home release, because it makes sense. Power Rangers is the journey of Jason, Billy, Zach, Kimberly, and Trini as they discover more about each other as people while figuring out how to coexist as a team. Ultimately, they needed to learn how to master their morphing abilities to become the Power Rangers, which enables them to unlock the plethora of cool powers and abilities. And like I said, what was the point of them putting out that crappy Kamen Rider looking 2017 Power Rangers Morpher toy out to the public in stores if you're not going to use it in the film? I mean, the one thing I could agree with Mr. Rini Productions on this is that even though you made a 2017 Power Rangers movie, instead of making it based on Mighty Morphin, why not just be original? Original villains, original mentor, original powers. You know, if you do that, then it's fine. But if you're making it about Mighty Morphin that people don't like, how you can just touch a franchise that you destroyed with this movie, then I can see why y'all didn't get a sequel. And I think the number one thing that ruined this movie was the overuse of product placement. And not only that, the marketing was just bad. So at the end of the day, I still hate this movie, even though it exists. It's part of the Ranger universe now. It is what it is. Pretty much a long article, so I'm not gonna go over this. But I think you heard my opinions 100 times about this movie, and I can go on and on about it. Everything about this movie is all the way wrong. Lack of action, lack of martial arts, lack of faithful to the source material. Did a horrible job at it. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. So the only way for me to be excited about a Power Rangers reboot is with Jonathan Entwistle, Jenny Clan, and Brian Edward Hill. I trust them more than I trust Lionsgate because they effed up with the Power Rangers movie. I'm just saying. So, link to the article down below. I'm gonna